mentioned something about the workers at the, can I call them animal processing or animal killing plants?
Yeah.
Go into that a little bit, because you were mentioning something off camera, and I actually stopped you and I said, let's get this on camera, because it was very just very deep what you were saying. Go into that again about the workers, what they do every day, how they perform, and how you think that actually carries on into their lives, how it affects them.
Sure. Yeah, the whole issue of animal rights is also a human rights issue, because the people that have to work on the dairy farms or in the meat packing plants and whatnot, they're no more valuable than the animals in themselves, basically. I mean,
to the employers, in
right,
other words,
right, exactly.
I mean,
they are
getting
right. They are, receiving wages, but there's all kinds of coercion involved, and it's very low pay, and it's very dangerous work. I mean, you're talking about having to cut throats or drive nails into the heads of cows, or put chicken beaks into laser cutting machines, or just picking them up and sorting them and throwing them around by their feet and hanging them up by their hooves. And I mean, who could do that all day, every day, and not feel something is wrong? So you just have to look at the ethics of what is being done to these creatures that can feel. They're sentient. They can look you in the eye, and that they know that they're going to die, and they're afraid, and they don't go willingly. So it's just another aspect of it to consider.
Absolutely, thank you. You wanted to add anything to that?
Oh, sure. You can look at cases around the U.S. where this is occurring, where workers are being victimized. You've got undocumented workers that were from, I think, El Salvador. They had teenagers that were working in a chicken processing plant in Ohio. I'm not sure what the town was, but there was a PBS Frontline edition about that, and they documented those conditions. They're using these people as indentured servants, if not slaves. There's modern day slavery that goes on in the food industry. There's no question about it. And the corporate interests really don't want people to know. They want people to just be fat and happy and go on consuming these products without any insight into what they're eating and how it's being produced. I used these for a demonstration that we did in Circus. They have a bacon fest, and that's coming up sometime during the summer. And the point is, as you can see, is how are things different? If you go to some cultures around the world, they value cats and dogs as food animals. So they're treated no differently than what we have even in the U.S. with slaughter of farmed animals, such as pigs, goats, cows, chickens. They're being farmed under similar conditions that these animals are being treated. And most Americans, if they saw this, if they were even aware of it, they would be absolutely beside themselves.
Yeah, they'd be outraged.
Because we value dogs and cats as being domestic pets. So where's the line drawn? Who gets to make that distinction?
So another thing that you also want to consider is seafood and fish too, because sometimes people seem to think that fish might not feel like other animals do. But there's a lot of research out there now that are showing that fish are actually very social creatures, and they certainly feel. They suffer a slow suffocation death after they're netted and brought up, or if they're hooked, it's even worse. And even people thinking about shrimp, well, shrimp will feel too, but the way that they harvest the shrimp is causing more damage to the environment and the floor of the ocean per acre than any other form of animal harvesting, because they put out these very long drift nets, and it just rakes the entire floor and tears up everything with it, the coral and any of the other indigenous life that lives down there, including larger fish and even turtles, dolphins, things like that. So seafood is also something that is really a big problem, a big issue. It may not be a problem for too much longer because the oceans are dying and the fishermen are unable to make a living. So, we may stop eating the fish whether we want to or not. Of course, the farmed fish are not any better. I mean, as a matter of fact, they're living in these very small pens. It's very unhealthy, and they'll tell you even right now, don't eat more than one fish dinner, depending upon the fish, per month. They don't want pregnant women or children eating fish because of all the pollution and mercury that's in them now. So when you think about veganism and animals, you gotta keep the seafood and the sea life in mind as well as that.
Outrage doesn't last with a lot of people. They need constant reminders, unfortunately.